It wasn't as simple as just having the funding available. I mean, even in terms of operational strategy, they were able to, effectively execute, their plan.
That is another point. One important factor. Still, I have to compare. I have to make these comparisons. When we talk, when General Buhari, when President Buhari came in, I think in July 2015, before he even set up his cabinet, there is this Good Morning Nigeria program where he said, and I'm quoting here, the Air Force is virtually non-existent. As we're talking now, according to Global Firepower Index, how many aircraft, when I mean all aircraft, serviceable, non-serviceable, fighters, helicopters, Nigeria has about 124 aircraft, Nigerian Air Force. The Colombian Air Force, at the peak of its efficiency as of now, it is having over 4,000 aircraft. When you make the comparisons in terms of armored fighting vehicles or infantry fighting vehicles, you still see that Colombia is far outway. So you can see the effort that the Colombian women. In terms of tactics, one thing we seem to forget is that Colombia was greatly helped by the American Southern Command that is operating in Asia. One area that we are lacking in this something, just the fact that, in fact, we have allies, UK, US, France, but there is one area we are lacking, and which was very decisive in Colombia, that is having real live intelligence. Live intelligence. The US command was able to show the Colombian forces exactly where FARC are at any particular time. We don't have this in Nigeria. And here, while the president is going to meet our allies in other countries, I would suggest, humbly, that we talk to these allies, US, UK, France. They have the capacity to give us satellite imagery. So instead of our troops fighting or waiting for Boko Haram to attack, 24/7 they will be able to know that Boko Haram is here, and it makes it very easy for you
visibility
to
and vigilance available.
Yes.
At this juncture, we're just going to throw it over to Lagos, where my colleagues are standing by with some questions for you.
Thank you, Ajiri. Captain Sadeeq, you were just talking about making a comparison between Nigeria and the Colombians. When you said to me about the equipment they have, the relationships they have with their allies, would seem not to be the situation here in Nigeria. Why do you think there's this level or this seeming secrecy that appears to be pervading the country in terms of like putting forward reports, putting forward levels of relationships, putting forward efforts that have been put in, funding, personnel, and all of that?
Okay, we can look at that at multiple levels. Honestly, I would like to say my colleagues in the military, there is something they are doing like shooting in the foot. By nature, if you ask the military man, do you have any problem, especially if it is in public, what he will tell you is that everything is correct, everything is okay. We thank the minister, we thank the president for giving us all the necessary, but that is for the cameras. What we have in other countries is that the generals, when they meet the political masters, they should be able to tell them honestly what we have, what we don't have. I always liken it to you going to a doctor. You have a broken leg, but you tell the doctor that you have fracture. The doctor will give you medicine for fracture. And as far as he's concerned, he has solved your problem. I have heard national lawmakers saying that of all the money we gave to the military, what is wrong with them? In all honesty, I would advise the military top brass to be very honest with the executive, to be very honest with the legislature. Just like when you go to a doctor, you tell him what is wrong with you. Tell them what you have and what you don't have. With regard to our allies, again, I would like the federal government to engage these allies, these ones that have this satellite imagery. Of course, we can buy satellite imagery. That's another issue. It is available from, companies like Boeing, countries in Italy. You can get from them. But we have allies here who said they are ready to help us. They can help us with this satellite imagery, without which our forces are fighting blind or waiting for Boko Haram to attack, and then we react. Okay. I understand from my own investigations that these allies also have their misgivings about giving us live intelligence. They said the story going around is that they are not sure of our capacity to utilize that information in a very ethical or very something that respects human rights. But I think, just like the president
if I may come in,
improvement in the human rights record of the. So honest, this so-called allies should be able to give us this live intelligence of Boko Haram that we need.
Okay, then the other question I'd like to ask, why I even asked our questions to tie to this, there are conflicting figures. The army said they have that 23 soldiers died in that Metale attack, but some sources within that area, even from the military, say over 100 died, and then some credible organizations are also reporting over 100 as well. Then, if we have these conflicting figures, look at it from this other side. Would it be wrong for the government or the military to put out a report for the public, for instance, to know exactly how much of effort has been put in, how much of money has been spent, what is the position of the enemy, what should the citizens be doing in terms of like support and positioning and confidence in the military? Would it be wrong to get to that level?
Well, let me start with the issue of figures. If you ask me as an analyst of security issues, when I'm reporting the figures, I will give you the figures that the Nigerian military released, because it will be unethical of me not to take the official figures. However, I will juxtapose it with what I heard from other sources, and then allow the reader or whoever it is to make his own judgment. Having said that, what is global best practice when a military loses personnel? Yes, there is always this inherent right of decency to first inform the next of kin before the story hits ground. But there's what is called a holding statement. What other armed forces do, a holding statement, is so that you kill rumors. We have had some reversals, or there's an attack, or there's a fight between Boko Haram and our forces in so and so place. The attack led to the loss of X number of lives. Without going into details, what is not fair is that we have women, we have children whose fathers are in the war front. They shouldn't hear it from the TV first that their father has died. So, but again, from that time that you give that whole statement, holding statement, and the time you give actual figures, the military should try so that it is not a protracted long time. If you take it long, again, rumors will fill in the vacuum, because I think I had General Kuka Shika just yesterday releasing this figure of 23. My own opinion is that it took so long. It's as if the military is reacting. Yes, maintain the secrecy for the family, but like the US military, they have a 24-hour, lag time between the time that they tell a next of kin that somebody has died and when that information is released to the public. In another way, you talk about sympathy for the soldiers. I want to believe any reasonable person would not celebrate that soldiers have died. Rather, you are emphasizing the patriotic work that the soldiers are doing when you release such figures.
Captain Shehu, I'm curious about the happenings as we speak, because you say that we have a shortfall of the army that we need to man the Northeast, for instance. You say 83, or just about 83,000 that we need, and we have just about between 15 and 20,000. Do you think that citizens in this country are encouraged to be enrolled into the Nigerian army? And if there are no incentives, what should the government do to try to encourage young men to enroll into the army?
Thank you very much for that question. Please, correction. I said by my own estimation, something about 50,000 is on the ground. I gave that 83,000 for the population in Borno, not even this is based on many researches made by other experts on counterinsurgency, for the minimum number of troops that you need to fight and counterinsurgency. Now, having said that, I want to believe Nigeria is full of vibrant young men who are desirous, either from the area being sieged. After all, we have the JTF. They were actually volunteers. When your town, when your people, when your father, when your grandfather, when your in-law is threatened, I think that makes the people there to ask, what can I do? So honest, we should look at the issue of recruitment. This is my own opinion. By that calculation I made, we probably need over 200,000 troops in that Northeast to really hold the ground. Lack of holding ground is what makes the situation where you hear the army has captured area X. Then after 3 months, you hear again the army is fighting to capture area X.
Very quickly, just to be clear, when you say 200,000 troops, are you talking about core Nigerian troops, or are you talking about the entire MNJTF comprising other countries' troops?
Good. I'm talking of counterinsurgents.
Okay.
When you say counterinsurgent, depending, if you are going to include the police, if you are going to include the civil defense, counterinsurgent, in fact, that is the better term, counterinsurgent forces, you need 200,000. But as it is now, it is the military that is doing the yeoman's job.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, Group Captain. I want to thank you for coming on as usual.
Thank you very much.
So I've been speaking here with retired Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu, and we've been discussing the issues of the Nigerian military across the Northeast and some other parts of the country. And at this juncture, I'm going to throw it over to Lagos, where my colleagues are standing by with another guest.